My father hated his father. 50 years of silence and slammed doors. Then a $99 DNA kit and a bundle of wartime letters revealed why and why he was saluting the wrong grave every Veterans Day. Full story. The Blue Star banner hung in my grandmother's window until the fabric faded to the color of milk. In our town, that banner meant someone's boy is at war. It stayed up even after the war ended, like she was afraid to take it down and tempt fate to notice. My dad grew up under that banner, and under a man he refused to call father. He called him Harlan. Just the name clipped off. Harlan's late again. Harlan's drunk. Harlan can take his own dinner. I was a kid before I realized most boys didn't speak about their dads like a weather report you dislike. I'm 51 now, with a bad knee from high school football and a habit of reading obituaries. Last fall, right before Veterans Day, my daughter sent me one of those DNA kits. For fun, she said. Maybe we've got a Viking hiding in there. I spat in the tube, mailed it off, forgot about it. Meanwhile, I was helping clean out my grandmother's apartment. She'd moved to assisted living. Behind her cedar chest, I found a bundle of letters tied with ribbon the color of old bruise. The top envelope read, "To Mrs. Ruth Collins from Supiel Samuel. Sam Doyle." 1944, I recognized the name. Grandma Ruth talked about Sam in the softest tone. Your grandfather's friend from the mill. A good man. The blue star in the window had been for Sam. I took the letters home and brewed coffee like I was about to break a law. The first one started, "Ruth, the cocoa you sent tastes like Massachusetts in winter. I keep the empty tin by my cot just to smell it and remember the river at the mill." He wrote about mud and rationed cigarettes, about a harmonica song that made tough men cry, and about Ruth as if her name were a warm place he could walk into. Then came the letter dated April 12th, 1945. "Ruth, we march at dawn. The boys pass your photo around. Say Sam's got a girl back home who looks like spring. If I don't come back, I need you to promise you'll live big enough for us both. If I do, I'll find you on the corner by the post office and buy you that cherry Coke I owe you. There's something I want to say face to face, not on paper where it will look small." Sam never bought that cherry Coke. Grandma kept the ribbon tight around the letters. She married Harlan that summer. A practical match, she'd say, folding towels into precise squares. 2 weeks later, my phone pinged. DNA results ready. I opened the app, expecting a pie chart and a Viking. Instead, I got a list of matches, and at the top, a name. Michael Doyle, close family. The app suggested half-sibling or uncle. The last name hit me like a bell. Doyle. Sam Doyle. I called Michael through the app, pulse racing like I was breaking that same law again. A man answered with a Boston voice and a cautious hello. We compared birth years and branches. Michael was 74, raised by a single mother who always said his father was a man who died a hero, a good man named Sam. "Sam Doyle?" I asked. Silence on the line, then a long, careful exhale. "That's the name on my birth certificate." The room tilted. My father, who hated Harlan, might be hating the wrong man, or loving the wrong grave, or both. I went to see Grandma Ruth. She was 96, brighter than the sun on some days, and foggy on others. That afternoon the sun was out. I showed her the letters. She smoothed Sam's handwriting with the same gentle thumb she used on my scraped knees when I was 5. "Ruth," I said, "did you love Sam?" She nodded. A small, full nod. "And my father, is he—" She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet and steady. Your father was born in February 1946, she said. Count backward. Harlan came back from a job in Maine in late June. We married in July. There were expectations. My parents said a husband would solve the arithmetic. Harlan promised he would be decent. Sometimes he was. Did Harlan know? I asked. Men always know something, she said, but he preferred a lie that made him head of the table to a truth that made him second chair. Why didn't you tell Dad? She looked at the window where the afternoon made a square of light on the linoleum. Because your father loved hating Harlan, it gave him a shape. I was afraid the truth would take even that away. She squeezed my hand. I was also a coward. I told Dad that night. He stared at me like I'd come home speaking French. Sam Doyle, he repeated. The man in the letters. He'd seen the ribbon, too. He'd always thought the letters were for a brother who died before he was born. I handed him the DNA printout and a photocopy of Sam's last letter. He read, standing up. At Cherry Coke, he sat. My father was a good man, he said finally, softly, trying the sentence on like a new coat. A soldier. A man who wanted to buy my mother a soda and tell her he loved her with his whole heart, and I spent my whole life hating the wrong man. He shook his head. Number Harlan earned some of it. We found Sam's name on the bronze plaque in front of the town hall. Corporal. Samuel Doyle, KIA 1945. On Veterans Day, my dad brought 2 flags. He stuck one by Sam's name and one by Harlan's grave. I for the lie that fed me and the truth that finally set me down right, he said. A week later, Michael Doyle drove out from Boston with his daughters. We met in the church hall, where our town does everything big and small. Wakes, scout meetings, and ham suppers. Michael walked like my father. He laughed like him, too. A short bark followed by an embarrassed smile. They stood across from each other, 2 old men trying to decide whether 40 years of missing each other could be solved with a hug. It could. They hugged. People clapped. Because this is a small town, and we clap when somebody finally does the brave thing. Grandma Ruth came in on her walker. Michael took her hand. He was a hero, he asked. He was loved, she answered. Sometimes that has to be enough. At Christmas, my dad put a blue star ornament near the top of the tree. He told the grandkids this story with the softest voice I've ever heard from him. The anger that defined him for half a century loosened its grip. He started calling Harlan my stepfather. Accurate at last. He even visited Harlan's grave and left a small bottle of cheap whiskey. For the man who stood in when he didn't have to, he said, and for the man I blamed because I didn't have the courage to ask questions. The letters are framed now, not hidden. The DNA chart sits in a drawer. It was never about the percentages. It was about naming the love we were all raised on and the sacrifice that built it. Every Veterans Day, Dad carries 2 flags. One for the father who stayed and failed in ordinary ways. One for the father who left and died for something larger than himself. Between them, my dad finally found the man he wanted to be.